felt a strong need to talk about this one today. Forget waiting your turn, whatever that actually means. I was talking with this prospect just recently, and he said, yeah, I know that building muscle and losing fat takes time. I know it takes a while to get lean. So I'm thinking like I'll probably start getting lean like 2 years, 3 years down the road. I know this thing takes time, and a lot of people think they can rush it. And it's a little ironic because most people do assume and think, yeah, why, how come 3 weeks into this, I've been tracking my calories and I've been hitting these workouts, and how come I'm not already losing the weight? Why am I not already 10 pounds down? Why do I already not have my dream physique 1 year into this thing? So a lot of people's common misconception is that they are too, I guess, ambitious in the sense of they assume results are going to come a lot faster. But the difference with what I want to talk about today is that despite most people thinking results come a lot faster than they normally do, there's a subsection of people out there, my clients especially. My clients are very ambitious people. They're very successful people. They are people with drive, people with discipline, people who know how to lock in. A lot of them, I like to say, like, hey, you have that dog in you, so to speak. And they just need the guidance with the fitness side of things. So the reason with this is a lot of people will think that they have to wait for their success to come. They think that they'll have to wait to get lean. Like, hey, yes, I'm very aware this is a long process. I want to be that jacked dad eventually, or I want to be that person that everyone at work looks at and is like, dang, that guy's fit. That guy has some sort of, aura to him, some sort of another level to him. And the thing is, you don't always need to just wait for something like that to happen. A big part of it is actually just taking action now and taking the right action. So first, oftentimes people have to first work harder because they don't even have the discipline, the drive, the ability to push themselves. And then they have to work smarter, meaning they have to develop a structure, a technique, a way that works with their lifestyle so that they can actually not only achieve the goals, but sustain the goals long term. And with my clients, I notice a lot of the times they do have somewhat more realistic expectations compared to the regular person, where the regular person is like, what the heck? How come I'm not already here and there? And I've already seen the success and blah, 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 after literally doing darn near no work, not experiencing any sort of discomfort, anything like that. For them, it's more so like, hey, I know this is a long game. I know I have to think in months and years and decades with this. What can I do right now to see the best results? And the thing is, a lot of people assume that you have to wait a long time to see very good results. And this is going to vary depending on your starting point. Like if you're 300 pounds, a lot of my clients who I've trained that are 300 plus pounds, you can see results a lot faster because you have way more, you're just a bigger person. You have way more mass. You have way more size. You have way more ability to see that change in the scale, as opposed to, say, one of my clients who's like 160 pounds. Every pound for that 160 pound person is way different than every pound for that 300 pound person. So you have more availability, more options to see more progress right off the bat, which is cool because when you start seeing progress, that becomes a motivating factor. But the thing is, when you have a proper drive, a proper structure, you are pushing yourself, you can get the results way faster than other people. Just because, you might be slightly tapped into the fitness side of things, and you do understand that these things take time. You could take a decade to build your body, your dream physique, whatever. It doesn't mean you have to take that full decade, because there's a lot of people out there, fitness coaches especially, literally myself, who've screwed up for 10 plus years, 15 plus years, doing the wrong things, making the wrong mistakes. And now we literally just consolidate that information and give it to you in a bundle that, isn't, doesn't take nearly the amount of money spent, nearly the amount of time spent, nearly the amount of frustration experienced, anything like that. For example, with my clients, I have a bachelor's of science in kinesiology. I have over 15 years of lifting experience, sports experience, trained special ops, trained athletes, trained general population, trained handicapped people, trained mentally disabled people, physically disabled people, just like a plethora of stuff, along with my own fitness journey where I've screwed up plenty of times with my nutrition, with my recovery and sleep, with my workout programming, with my technique, everything like that. So a lot of people think that just because it took me 10 years, 15 years to get to a place that I'm at, they also have to take 10 or 15 years to get to a place you're at. And the whole point of hiring some sort of mentor or coach, anything like that, is to be able to fast track that process. Why would you want to spend, tens of thousands of dollars getting a degree, learning a bunch of studies, going through all this experience and BS and injuries and pain, instead of just saying, hey, here's the answer. I'm just going to give it to you because I already know where I screwed up at, but I also know it went well, if that makes sense. And with that consolidated information, you have a much faster opportunity of getting to where you want to get to, of achieving your dream body a lot sooner. It doesn't necessarily have to take, it's going to depend on the person, but it doesn't necessarily have to take an entire 10 years to get there. So there's also this one time where I remember when I worked as an in-person trainer at a gym, I was putting in a decent amount of work up front. You realize that the vast majority of people don't actually care to put a crazy amount of work in. And when you just do what you're supposed to do, and then you put a little bit of extra effort in, and then you put like motivated effort into it, you just tend to excel a lot faster than most people. And I guarantee you, like 95% of jobs out there, when you just do the bare minimum and then a little bit more, and then when you're feeling motivated, you do more than that, you climb way faster and it goes way more noticed to certain extents, depending on the career and whatnot. But long story short, I ended up getting promoted pretty fast within the first few months of working at this company. And I was like, oh, this is cool. And I realized that 2 weeks in to getting promoted, they were offering another promotion, or to at least start training me to become that next promotion. But I wanted to, long story short, I wanted to sit and incubate and doing what I am doing as a coach, as a trainer. I felt like I was still developing, and I felt like I had a long way to go, and I didn't max out my true potential helping people and helping my clients. So essentially I declined the promotion, if that makes sense, or the trained promotion. But whether that was dumb or not, we'll never know because I didn't take it. But I remember thinking and negotiating a little bit of what was going on there and seeing like, okay, I'm putting this effort in, I'm learning along the way, I'm asking a million different questions, and that was able to fast track me so much further than it would for someone who just shows up daily, doesn't really care what they're doing. They're seeing their clients as a paycheck, that sort of thing. And don't get me wrong, that location that I was at, that was a rare location where we had a lot of studs in that location. Like there were a lot of solid trainers there, especially around the time that I happened to get there. It seemed like we were accumulating solid talent from different places and different outlooks, which was really cool. But when I first got there, there's like a select few people. You're like, those are the people. Those are the ones that work hard. And so I tried to emulate those people. What are they doing on a day-to-day basis? What do I not know? Like, what experience do they have that I am lacking right now, where I can learn from them and I can pick up from them? And so through asking my mentors, through watching the better trainers, the more experienced trainers around me, that allowed me to excel so much faster, to the point where pretty much everyone who just showed up on a daily basis was staying stuck, and I was able to fast track that. And the same goes with your health too. You don't need to, you don't need to absolutely suffer 100% of the time. Like you can actually do stuff and enjoy stuff. You just need to be smart with it, but you do need to make sacrifice in some way, shape, or form. Like if you're eating McDonald's every single day, like these trash foods that literally should be twisting your gut every time you have them and sending you to the restroom, these things, like these foods, you're going to have to make sacrifices along the way. It's not always like, oh, everything is sunshine and rainbows and this is great and super easy and whatnot. Sacrifices will be made, but you also don't need to suffer through it. It's just finding that balance point in between. But you also have to realize that balance comes later on when you are actually being balanced. Not, well, I want to balance this and that, but I've been, prioritizing my social life over my health for the past 20 years. Doesn't necessarily make sense. So when it comes to that push, that drive, that consolidated information, that limited mindset that this will take me way longer than most people think. Most of the time, that is true. The vast majority of people out there, that is very true. But for the high achievers, for the people that understand and think in long term, they're not just always dopamine seeking, like every 2 minutes of the day, dopamine maxing, whatever you want to call it. Those people understand that things take time. But the problem is, when it comes to your health, when it comes to your fitness, when it comes to getting lean, they don't realize how much faster it can be. You have to push hard, and then you have to keep your foot on the gas, and you cannot let up for a while. You have to let yourself become uncomfortable, and you have to let yourself actually see the results and let those results come to you, because there's always going to be a delayed effect as well. Like you can't just eat super clean for 1 week, see the scale kind of fluctuate a little bit, but nothing's really going on, and then all of a sudden be like, oh, well, nothing happened, so I might as well go back to doing what I was doing because this doesn't work. It's like, no, a month into it, 2 months into it, 3 months into it, that's when you start seeing and noticing the big changes. Like, oh, wow, I'm kind of noticing like I'm a little less lethargic. I have a little bit more energy. Like I'm starting to feel the changes a bit more. I don't really see anything. I'm not really seeing a lot of progress, but I'm noticing something. And then you start to realize like, hey, I'm kind of getting stronger in the gym. Like I'm pushing a few more reps on this with the same weight, or I'm increasing the weight a few pounds every single time. This is kind of crazy. I had one of my guys recently, almost every single workout, he's been hitting like 7, 8, 9, 10 PRs, personal records, within a single workout. And this is what happens like with newbie lifters, newbie gains. Like he just didn't realize that was possible. He's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe the amount of progress I'm making this fast. But the reason he is able to make progress that fast is, one, the less experience you have, the more progress that you can actually see sooner. Because after a decade or so, it's not like, oh yeah, I'm just going to bench 1,000 pounds now because that's where I'm at. And that progressive overload is hitting. But one, being a newer lifter versus an experienced lifter, you're going to see more progress sooner. And then two, actually working out and taking your nutrition seriously to an extent where it's like, oh yeah, like I'm pushing right now and this actually does kind of suck, but I'm actually seeing the results, the progress from this. And 2 months in, you might be like, boom, just plummeted a bunch of weight. Like sometimes our body holds on to weight a little bit differently. And sometimes it takes a sec before, some people lose like very steadily, like linearly, like, okay, you're losing a pound this week, a pound and a half that week, half a pound this week. Like you're going at a good rate. Let's keep that going. And then some people, it'll be like, coach, what am I doing on? Like some of my clients, what am I doing wrong? How come I'm not dropping the weight? And I say, hey, you haven't been pushing hard enough for long enough. And then all of a sudden, boom, plummet. And now all of a sudden they're walking around at 5 pounds lighter than what they were 2 weeks ago. But it just took a while. It took a bit of pushing. It took a bit of uncomfortability. And it took them not giving up in the process. But also not thinking that, oh yeah, this will happen 5 years from now if I just stick with it. Because that's also an excuse to not push yourself now. When you think, oh yeah, 5 years from now, like I'll be successful, I'll be lean, I'll be able to lose that weight, and I'll be a strong dad then. It's like, yeah, you can be, and hopefully you will be, but it has to start now. You don't just fall into those positions of like being that jack dad or that super successful businessman unless you are already putting the work in now and developing those habits now. And it starts to become your lifestyle, a part of you, something that you want to do on a daily basis. It's no longer a chore. It's just something that, hey, just like brushing our teeth, right? Like, hey, we just got to get that done, at least twice a day, right? Hopefully for most of you guys out there. It just becomes part of their lifestyle. And with my clients, I noticed that there's almost like a limiting belief in the opposite way when you take someone super ambitious, super driven, super motivated, super willing to put the work in, and they almost use it as a limiting factor on themselves, if that makes sense. And I notice this is something a lot of people will be told too, because so many people assume results faster. But for those select few, like I said, those elite mindset people that are like, hey, I know it's going to take a while. I remember there was this one time where I worked in this, same thing when I was working in the gym, and we had a new set of management along that at that time. And essentially we were negotiating for, the salary, like what am I going to make per hour here? Given the context, given the numbers, given that you are giving me a promotion and whatnot. And through that negotiation, we compare numbers to other locations, other statistics, other trainers, that sort of thing. And then we see the kind of revenue that I was bringing in as a coach. Not like I'm selling $10 million in supplements, but the fact that I'm able to take however many clients I had at the time and keep them on a recurring service with the company. And, I'm getting freaking zilch. They're paying this much. I'm getting freaking zilch. Nothing for it. I like showing those numbers. It's like, yeah, well, given the context of what's going on and how many clients I've been able to save for your guys' business, like I feel like this is a fair hourly rate for what's going on. And then the two people that I was talking to said, well, when I was your age, I wasn't even making that much. Yeah. What the fudge? Like, why do you think you weren't making that much at my age? Did you have that kind of hustle? Did you have that kind of drive? Were you asking questions on a daily basis? Were you trying to get better every single day? And then were you actually developing the skills to get better every single day? And were you actually bringing the results in too? That's another thing. Like, were you handsy pansy? Like, were you screwing around half of the time or screwing around on the weekends? Or were you spending 12 hours a day here for like 6 of the 7 days a week? And then the other day of the week, I was there for like another 6 hours or so. Like, I was spending stupid amounts of time there and stupid amounts of effort and energy. Like, literally, like, darn near sleepless nights. Sometimes you wake up at like 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning, and then you don't go home till like 9:30 at night. And then you just repeat the next day. Clients are texting you while you're off the clock, all this stuff going on. And when I heard, well, I wasn't making that much at your age, even though they're in a much different position now, I'm like, yeah, I'm hopefully will be making more than you at your age because you didn't have that drive. You were lazy. You brag about partying and drinking all the time. And you brag about doing all these things to all these women and not actually locking in for yourself. So it's like, yeah, different actions bring different outcomes. What did you expect from that? There's this one verse. I'm not a theology expert or anything, but I thought this was pretty interesting. I'll read it off right here. In the same way, faith by itself, if it is not accompanied by action, is dead. James 2:17. And then there was another verse too, where it was like 1 Timothy 4:12. Do not let anyone look down on you because you are young, but set an example for the believers in speech, in conduct, in love, in faith, and in purity. 1 Timothy 4:12. So like I said, I'm not a theology expert or anything, but what I took from those Bible verses specifically was that just because you are a certain age or a certain body weight or you are in a certain position, maybe you were dealt a bad set of cards, like that doesn't mean you have to lose or you have to wait, if that makes sense. Like that doesn't mean you have to wait to start taking action. That doesn't mean you have to wait to start being successful. And even on top of that too, it's like you can't just wish and assume 5 years from now I'll be there in 5 years. You just have to trust the process. You just have to wait, but you're not doing anything. Like you have to take action on it as well. And I know that could be a whole nother discussion and video in itself, but there's a certain amount of both of those that you need. Like you need that willpower, you need that drive, you need that consistency, but you also need like that faith to be able to understand like, hey, I can set the standard higher. I just need to realize I can actually do it. And then you need that action to back up that standard in which you're trying to get to. So I just thought those were interesting. I honestly hate hearing people limit themselves so much and assuming that they are not capable of more, especially when they are an overachiever, they're a high performer, they understand what it takes to put hard work in, and then they think that they cannot accomplish things faster the more work that they put in, depending on the situation, but especially when it comes to getting lean and when it comes to getting in shape and when it comes to sculpting your body. So if you are someone who maybe this video resonated with you, maybe you are a high performer, you are someone who you do think in terms of long-term planning, 6 months, 12 months, 10 years, whatever it might be, there's a one-on-one coaching application in the description down below. If this resonated with you, feel free to fill it out. I'll reach out to you. I'll see what I can do for you. If you align with this video and some of this resonated with you, you also align with a lot of my clients currently right now, which is pretty sick. So that's all I have for now. If you did find this video enjoyable, drop a like on the video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.